Hi, I'm Rosalind Chao, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Anne and Damien.
Summer is summering. I started taking cold showers because I'm one of these people that is so impressionable, and I'm an easy sell. So I've been watching so many people cold plunge on TikTok that I decided to get in on it by taking cold showers every morning, just for I'm working my way up. So just like a minute, I jump in, I immerse my body, get that dopamine rush, and then I towel off and I get outside and get some sunlight with the dog. Because I just feel like what is the summer? Like, we're in a heat wave. Shannon Doherty is dead. Dr. Ruth is dead. Shelley Duvall, do you feel like she is somehow your mother? She is somehow...
You told me she was. You told me that I was the love child of Shelley Duvall and Tommy Tune. And I guess at this point in my life, I'm ready to take it as a compliment.
Yeah, of course it's a compliment. Hello, come on. Oh my gosh. Anyway, guys, hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Anne and Damien. This is our show where we shoot the shit with each other, catch up on our aging bodies, the ins and outs of pop culture, what we're watching, what we're loving, what we're hating, and we interview an actress each and every episode. The cold plunge thing is interesting to me, and I think I told you this, but it really is very old Hollywood, and I wasn't sure if that was part of the TikTok phenomenon or not, but I remember hearing that Paul Newman and I think Katharine Hepburn dunked their face in a bowl of ice water every morning. Maybe does Faye Dunaway... Sorry, I'm having Faye Dunaway moment because we just watched the Faye documentary together.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a minute, yeah.
But did Joan Crawford do that as well?
I think she
now
does
having a
it
memory of did she do
Mommy
it in
Dearest? Yeah, I think she does it in
you.
Mommy Dearest. I think we actually saw that clip actually, but maybe neither of us connected the dots, even though we had just talked about cold plunging an hour before. Yeah, and that's because I remember that Megan Draper, I can't remember the actress's name, but Don Draper's second wife on Mad Men in the later seasons, she's French, and she talks about how her mother taught her to wash her face with ice cold water in the morning, or splash your face with ice cold water, because that's supposed to I guess keep your pores tight and your skin youthful. So obviously I don't know, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for some sort of dopamine high release that is I'm supposed to help elevate my mood, my metabolism, minimize inflammation, all of these things, just trying to make my mood in life a little bit better because everything is horrible. But I'm into the old Hollywood connection, and it is... if you're not living through this heat wave, then please let us know where you're listening to us from, because I feel like whether you're in Toronto or Los Angeles or anywhere in the Northeast, or if you're anywhere in the South of in America, in North America, then you're experiencing this heat, and then it's just everyone's dying. Shameless plug here, but we just talked on the Patreon last week about all of these luminaries that have died and how sad we are. It's one Shelley Duvall died, and she was old and had sort of,
but not even that old. I think she was 72. Do you know what I mean?
I was gonna say maybe not that old, and also had been out of the Hollywood spotlight, right. And also maybe had ran away from it, escaped from it because of the way she was treated in the industry. But Shannon Doherty hit me particularly hard because she's not that much older than us, and also she was part of, obviously, many important things to many people, but 90210 is something that is very important to us. So we really break down how sad we are about shit. I don't know what I'm saying. Just subscribe to the Patreon if you want to commiserate with us about the loss of these people. I mean, also Dr. Ruth, Richard Simmons. I just watched Richard Simmons surprise Rosie on the Rosie O'Donnell show this morning, and I was very touched and weirded out by it. And I was it's just what a different... it's we are much more progressive and different now, but then also this lesbian sort of living in the in-between of butch and femme on network TV, being surprised with this feminine-ish, androgynous-ish person surprising her on her talk show. It was very pleasing to me in a way that I was I don't know if either of these people could be famous present day.
That is such a good point. And we had this conversation recently too about are there any weirdos that are famous anymore? And I don't know if talented weirdos, not just weird for the sake of being weird, but charming, talented weirdos. Does that category exist? Because I feel maybe the 90s was the last stretch of time that we had it.
Yeah, I have to think
Do you
about
remember
it.
remember Tiny Tim? Is Tiny Tim still alive? Like,
Tiptoe Through the Tulips. You know, I used to confuse him with Tommy Tune, your father.
Oh, my father. Yes, my father.
Yeah, that song is so terrifying. Tiptoe Through the Tulips. I was
love
obsessed with it in high school. It used
it's
to, like,
really good.
It was like one of my, I don't know, it was like an inside joke with, I was gonna say my best friend, but it was a person whose dick I was sucking, who was my best friend, but, you know, also my first love, and has stunted me in the intimacy department in so many ways. So let's pour one out for Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Let's see if he's dead. Hold on one moment.
I think he might be. And also, like, did he marry somebody that was kind of,
I mean,
also odd? Like, I assumed Tiny Tim was gay. I don't know why I did that. Probably because of his high pitched voice.
Like, was he gay?
I think he was not gay, and he's dead. Those are my votes. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Died in 96.
Okay, wow, much longer ago than I had thought.
Same. Was married to one woman, another woman. Looks like married to a woman, has children with at least one of them.
Okay. Wow. Okay, let's find Tiny Tim's kid. Maybe we need to talk to that person on the Patreon.
On the Patreon, we will be talking to Tiny Tim's daughter. Hey, your dad's song was an inside joke between me and my first love. I'm fucked up because of it. It's funny to think about, like, you know, I feel like the generation before us had mixtapes, and for us it was like, I remember getting a CD burner for
CDs.
Yeah, like I remember getting a CD burner for Christmas, and then like 500 blank CDs, and like making pretty much 500 mixed CDs or copying CDs from other people of like greatest hits. Basically, I was like, I love this band. Here's their greatest hits album that I listened to. But yeah, it's like funny to think about the songs that had meaning and like the mixes I would make for the people that were important in my life. And yeah, Tiptoe Through the Tulips was like on a mix CD with this man that was, important to my young adulthood life, my young adulthood.
You know what I like is when you finally showed me a picture of this person whose name we are redacting from the record. You know, it's just like the people that I always think about, like Romeo and Michelle or something. It's like the hot people, or like the people that you thought in high school. Like, rarely do any of them like grow up to be hot people. Like, they age really, really poorly, and there's something beautiful about that.
Oh, you mean because this person was like a hot person and as when we were young and is not hot now?
Correct.
Yeah, it's pleasing. I remember one time he told me that I would peak after high school because my brothers were all better looking.
It sounds like my theater teacher freshman year. That was like,
oh, you're like,
hold on, you'll get the character parts in third year if you can make it past this contemporary era where everyone is supposed to be like hot and making out with each other. You'll get to the Ibsen and Shaw in third year. Yeah,
it was very cool to be told like, oh, your brothers are all attractive, so like you'll probably get better looking. And I was like, cool. I mean, I think I didn't think about it. It's like, what does that do for a young person's self-esteem? Anyway,
it sets the tone for one's rest of life. I was thinking when you were talking about mixtapes that there was this small period of time where I like bought myself my first laptop, and I was like, I need the biggest laptop money can buy because I won't be transporting it, but I will be watching clips on it and movies. So I bought this enormous like 18-inch screen laptop, and I made sure it had a DVD burner in it, and that was like my treat to myself. And there was this small window of time
treat
where
to
I was
yourself.
like,
you bought it yourself?
Yeah, I bought it myself. This was like, I had to like save up to like buy it. And I was like, I'm going to do this for myself when I was, like 20, 22, something like that. So there was a period of time where I was like burning DVDs. And I was just thinking like, should we bring back, I'll see if that Toshiba still works. I have to look and see if it's still functional. But I do have a DVD burner. But like on the off chance that we don't, we could be sharing flash drives of clips. And I think that it's something that I'd like to bring back where we could actually create a physical version of like a clip mix tape. But it would really be like a mixed thumb drive.
Did you just think of this now? I love this idea.
Yeah, because what's so hard is like now I know how to download clips from YouTube, and a former friend of mine taught me that you have to save those things on hard drives because clips come and go on the internet, and I believe in physical media.
Yeah, Aurora Spider-Woman is like one of the best, and like sometimes you'll find something that you've been like every once in a while I used to look for a lot of Locomotion from Starlight Express. It's really not in any of the recent productions of the show, but there was a version of it that was like from a Starlight Express sizzle reel, and I was like, fuck, it's up. I gotta like burn it into I need to like get it on my phone so I never lose it because it will get taken down probably eventually.
Totally. So I think maybe, maybe that's something to aim for is like we'll exchange clip flash drives. And, if we're getting really fancy, we'll burn them on DVDs for posterity. But I feel like, we've got to make sure that, like Jennifer Hudson on Sesame Street is always available.
Okay, perfect. This is exactly what I was going to say, which is I think one of the great things about, what we call like clip nights, and we haven't done one in a while, and we've been talking about trying to get one in while the summer is still like, while we all still have like sunlight and are able to like get out of our homes, is doing a clip night. And I think one of the great rewards of that is like you go and you're like, okay, let's watch like some of our favorite clips of people singing,
classics.
or it's like funny. It's like sometimes it's funny and you're laughing at it. Like this is a commercial where Della Reese is talking about like walking through a glass door, and how she's like doing like promo for a decal company, and then or like Martha Ray doing like a not a Fix-It commercial, but whatever that like Polydent,
yeah.
And then some of them are like we're watching an Ernest for the singing, like Ellen Green in Little Shop, or I will say one of my ex-boyfriends, not the one who traumatized me in a different way, showed me the clip of the Dreamgirls concert, and it's Audra McDonald, Heather Headley, and Lilias White playing the Dreams, and it's heavy, I think, and there's like this moment where Heather Headley like sings a note into Lilias White's note. I can't even describe it. It's just like she says no while like and matches the note in a way that is like I've never seen done in a production, but also is just cool. And I always think like that is maybe his greatest contribution that other things too, but like in clip wise. And our friend Seth gave us the great gift, for me at least, he was the first one who showed this to me, of Jennifer Hudson on Sesame Street singing, I forget, it's like Carol of the Bells. And she's just singing like Ding Dong. She's just singing Ding Dong. And then some bird comes in and like takes it up an octave. And you're like, I am like drunk or like taking a popper, or you know what, I'm sober as hell, but I'm watching this puppet sing like it, taking it up an octave, and it's like the absurdity and the beauty of it is just magical. So I love the idea of getting like a flash drive from you where I don't know. I mean, some of the clips maybe are ones that I forgot, but then some of them maybe are ones I've never seen, and you get to surprise me, because that was the fun part of like mix CDs, being like, who's this band? And you're like, oh, this is Rilo Kiley. That's the girl who used to be on You Can't Do That on Television. And then you'd be like, oh my God. And then you like find out about this band from your like friend, your crush, whatever. And then it like opens up a whole part. I'm giddy thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm titillated. I am already like putting a playlist of clips together in my head. So I think this is going to be a long-term project for us. And folks, if you have, if you want to share things with us too, you can always create a YouTube playlist and send it to us, DM it to us. Like, we're always in the market for new clips.
Mail us a flash drive. I mean, imagine that's like the old school pop culture.
How
like
romantic!
Like I feel like podcasts are the new zines in a way. It's because I feel like it's like there's so many of them. I feel like a lot of them are dying, and we're gonna keep trying to go. But it's like if that's the way we're communicating with our guests, if you're sending us flash drives and we're mailing them back to you, like my God, don't be a stalker. But what clips we all could discover from each other.
I'm excited. We could just get a P.O. box for flash drives alone.
I just thought the same thing. I said we got to get a P.O. box. Also, I think something else may be worth mentioning here on the original recipe of You Might Know Her From, and something we did discuss on the Patreon is, and I'm going somewhere with this, Anne, is that Kim Cattrall is allegedly coming back for And Just Like That season 3. Anne and I talk about it at length at the Patreon. I'll say I talked about it at length, and Anne mostly agreed with me, but I did get Anne to agree on the record that we're going to do And Just Like That recaps once the show comes back for season 3. We'll be doing them on the Patreon. So listen, we know times are tough right now, but it is the best way you can support us doing this show, where we bring these first-rate, in our opinion, interviews with women who, we're centering, uplifting, and making sure these stories are told on the record. Not only is this like somewhere where we get to talk shit and be stupid, but also like we really do feel like this is like a living document where we're making sure these stories, like I think these are going to be like saved somewhere like papers, that's my hope.
Yes.
But what I think I love about Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker's hatred so much, Anne, and what you told me about it last night when I once again was talking about it at you in person, is that you were like, it's old Hollywood. And I was like, you're right, because it doesn't matter how much money Kim Cattrall is getting at this point. She's like now maybe going to come back, but she's like, I won't work with Michael Patrick King or Sarah Jessica Parker. I think she's open to working with the other two. She really just hates them, and I think she hates that they have created a narrative where like they're nice and Kim is greedy. And she's like, I think that she's just committed to being like, yeah, HBO can pay me like $2 million to come back and do cameos, but I'm still not going to film with either of them, because like they're horrible, and she wants them to eat shit in the press or on camera, I believe, in order for her to ever do anything with them again, which I'm into. And you said, yeah, it's old Hollywood. And then we watched the Faye Dunaway documentary last night, and I feel like there's something like that doesn't exist anymore. Do you know where I'm going? Like the Faye Dunaway doc was illuminating. I wish that it was better, but it was illuminating in that they don't make them like her anymore, you know?
Totally. And I think that she had that thing that was so rare back then even, I think, which is like incredible talent, which I think was very much on display in the documentary. She is a great actor. She's also a great star and a crazy beauty.
Yeah.
And maybe also incredibly high maintenance. The disappointing thing about the documentary is, though they did touch on like her quote unquote difficulty as a performer, they did not touch on the Andrew Lloyd Webber of it all one bit. And I feel like that must have been by design, right? Like she said, and also like her son produced it, presumably. So
they did talk about it at the top, right? Like there's a mention of it. Am I mistaken? Where it's
they mentioned Sunset, but did they mention him specifically?
No. You're right. It's just Sunset. It's like the Betty Davis portion, right? Where she's saying something about like
she'd never work with Faye Dunaway's the worst person she ever worked with.
And then there's like a headline about Sunset, but yeah, they don't get into it, and they don't get into like the voicemail the voicemail is from a reporter, right? But it's about Andrew Lloyd Webber and Sunset Boulevard.
Yes.
And
it's about somebody that like wrote a shit piece about her and like what was involved in she left a nasty voicemail to a reporter.
And how she didn't want to, talk about Mummy Dearest, and like that was in the past. And yeah, we didn't get any of that. We didn't get to, speaking of great clips, we didn't get to watch her like unshell a hard-boiled egg, which she does in that commercial for eggs. Like,
I'm not sure like what even is it. Like, is it a Japanese art piece? I'm not sure. We'll put it in the show notes.
It's I'm not kidding. I
don't think it's a commercial. Is it a commercial for eggs?
It's a commercial for her. Hold on. Jane Fonda. No, I'm sorry. What is her name?
Faye
Dunaway. Commercial for eggs. Commercial for eggs.
It's really erotic. It's very erotic the way that she shells this egg.
It's a commercial
fingers it.
It's a commercial for Parco.
Is that like a watch or something? I assume it's like a watch or jewelry. But like, why would you want to associate that with a boiled egg?
I'm obsessed. Yeah, maybe it's some sort of department store in Japan.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. The celebrities also very old Hollywood, but they're still doing it. It's like Brad Pitt will do tons of commercials like in Japan and China, but none of the big celebrities here will do anything like that. Although, I don't know, like George Clooney does big commercials at this point, but like they do high fashion commercials in Japan. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So you're willing to sell it there, but not here.
Did you see that commercial the other day that was, or it was like it wasn't a commercial. It was like a clip on Instagram. It was like Janet Jackson being the face of some weird brand, like some Japanese brand.
Oh no!
And it was like a series of commercials where she's like speaking Japanese, and it's very cool. Yeah,
I love her so
it's
much.
A cell phone company. It was a Japanese cell phone company from 1993, and it's like a series of her like speaking Japanese, like holding this like little box phone, and it's so cool. And you're like, yeah, she's a huge fucking star. And she was like, yeah, I'll take the money, but like only in Japan. But yeah, I'll speak Japanese, of course. Teach me. She sounds great. She sounds like she speaks it.
I love her so much. I would love to talk to Janet Jackson about her acting career.
She just went. There was just a headline I read. I didn't click on the link, but I read a headline where it said Janet Jackson ends interview early. It said and it says she doesn't like talking. And I said, we'll never get her. Did you see that?
I'm glad she's okay. Like, she legitimately seems okay, and I'm so happy for it because, like, nobody deserves it more. I love Janet Jackson.
Did you see that picture of her with that drag queen? Not like a RuPaul's Drag Race girl, but this drag queen named Mira Mangle, who's like a online drag queen. But she went to one of Janet's concerts recently, like, and I went to a meet and greet, and she wore a shirt. The drag queen wore a shirt that said, like, oh, so you do the bending or whatever. Like that line from that Tyler Perry movie where she's like calling her husband out for having gay sex, and she's like, so you do the bending? And the drag queen like wore that shirt and is like in a picture with Janet Jackson wearing the shirt. And I was very charmed by it that she like took the picture with the drag
Right.
queen.
She was like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, it's so cool. Goodness gracious. So many things, so much going on. Folks, you're having a nice summer. Please let us know. Please join us.
Please send us clips. Please join us on the Patreon. Please send us things. You know, it's like the dog days of summer are here, and I need every bit of dopamine that I can get. You know, like whatever is bringing you joy, please send it our way because we need it.
Dopamine from cold showers or some such.
I have a question about the cold shower. Are you doing the rest of your business in the shower, or that's a separate shower?
So I take a cold shower, then I want to get some sunlight, like some 15 minutes of sun immediately. Like not immediately, but like within the hour that I'm waking up. So it's like cold shower, out of the shower, dry off, put a robe on, tell the dog to wake up, put sunblock on my face, and get dressed to take her out. We go for a walk, and if it's not too like hot yet, we go for a decent long walk, come back, and then I take a proper shower, have breakfast, make coffee.
Got it. Okay, this is nice. The only thing I'm concerned about is this woman that I saw on Wife Swap years ago that, like, I don't know if you saw this episode. Wife Swap was very important to me, but she swapped with this other family, but like she didn't eat. She had a raw vegan diet, and then she was transitioning to not eating at all, but getting all of her nutrients through the sun. So she would just wake up in the morning and go get her nutrients for the day from the sun by baking in the sun all day. And obviously she was like loopy in her brain because she was consuming 0 calories. There's also people that like sun their anus in an attempt to get the sunlight directly into their body for energy. So I'm just like, I know you're Italian, which means you'll probably never like be a person that's like, I'm gonna not eat. But I need you to just be careful with the things that you're learning on TikTok, because I feel like they're veering into this territory that I'm familiar with from Wife Swap.
I'm telling you, you know that I'm not anti-vax, but you know that that the fine line between wellness and anti-vax is slippery. But
it's very thin. It's a very thin
I will
line.
never be thin, and I will never not eat, and so fear not. But I'm just trying to manage my mental health the best.
No.
I can.
I feel you, and I agree with the cold shower. And like I told you, Jennifer Aniston said the best thing you can do for your breasts is splash them with cold water before you go on camera. So
it made me like her more when you told me that. I said, yeah, I love it. It's
yeah, I
Hollywood.
think the same applies to your face. So
folks, thank you for being here. We're really excited for this month's interview. I don't want to say too much, but I'm just going to say that Rosalind Chao is having a summer. She also appears on one of our quote-unquote favorite shows of all time, Adjacent. And we had a total pleasure with her. It really was. There was one particular credit that I was able to really teleport back to my young days, and I was glad to correct some things on the record. So, without further ado,
you might know her from The Joy Luck Club,
Mulan,
3 Body Problem,
Sweet Tooth,
MASH,
Star Trek: The Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine.
I Am Sam,
Just Like Heaven,
Freaky Friday,
and
The L Word, Generation Q. We are so excited to be here with Miss Rosalind Chao. Rosalind, welcome to You Might Know Her From.
Thank you for having me.
We're really excited because it's big news. Congrats on your new Netflix series, 3 Body Problem, getting renewed for both seasons 2 and 3. That's incredible.
Yeah, amazing, right?
And this is from the creators of Game of Thrones, and it's based on this book by Liu Cixin about a choice that your character makes that sort of alters the history of the universe.
Exactly.
You also just narrated the audiobook for book 1, so I imagine that you're pretty familiar with the jargon and the source material, which has like a lot of science in it, which is sometimes very dense for Damien and I. I'm always very impressed. So does the physics-heavy content make the work for you as an actor a little bit more difficult, or do you just focus on the givens of the scene when it's time to shoot?
I do my research pretty thoroughly. As far as the book is concerned, there was a lot of physics. I think one entire chapter it's almost like a foreign language. I think it was chapter 5. I can't remember exactly, but and as far as 3 Body Problem, yeah, I am kind of a science nerd, if I'm to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But on top of that, my character doesn't really, at the point at which I'm playing her, she doesn't really, when she's in China and Zine is playing her and speaking Chinese, that is, not a portion of the filming that I was taking part in. I think that was, a month of filming, and then I came in after they all left.
Did they have like a show Bible that they were like, here's what you need to know before you go in? These are the givens? Or is it really just, as you're saying, the person-to-person scene?
It is. I mean, I definitely read the book. There was a Chinese coach that at one point I was going to do a couple of the scenes in Mandarin. So he had briefed me on a lot of it because it was a book that was quite popular in, a lot of people were reading it in China. I was not familiar with it before I'd started, but I read the book and I found it fascinating, obviously, or I wouldn't have done the audiobook.
Right.
You mentioned Xin Zhang, who plays the younger version of your character. I'm curious, you said you weren't there when she was filming those scenes, but did you work at all with her to match mannerisms, or how did hair and makeup contribute?
No, I had to match her. She just did her.
Okay.
And her own accent. And then I came in at the end because that's not her thing. And I'd worked with these dialogue coaches before, and I think they decided that it was best for me to do the homework to match her. And so I watched her footage prior to filming, and I think I met her for 5 minutes to take a photo. And then I watched her walk away, and so it was definitely in my head. We took a photo, and that's it. I really had, for press, I think she said we got to know each other better than we actually did. I think I was eating breakfast, and she ran up behind me and took a photo before I even realized what was happening. And so that's how I got to know her. It was very quick. So, but I mainly, through watching her footage, and she is speaking Mandarin throughout most of it. So as soon as she had portions where she was speaking English, I asked them to send that footage directly to me so that I could adapt what I was doing to her. So I was mainly adapting to her.
Are you a natural mimic? Like, is that a skill set you have in your back pocket?
I've had to do it a lot, but it's not like I was mimicking her. It was really like I was just watching what she did. And really, it was in the casting. She looks an awful lot like my mom, to be honest. So when I first saw a photo of her in the makeup room, I was kind of amazed. I thought it was a photo of my mom when I first walked in. So that was kind of interesting. And she just did her, and I just watched her and then hoped that I absorbed it by osmosis. I definitely wasn't mimicking her. I just, looked at her as she walked away and And you really have to have faith that you absorb what you need to absorb. Also, I did have amazing dialogue coaches, and they had decided, I think everybody had decided, that my character would have, from having years in England, would have an English flair. That's something that I had done a play in England for 4 months at the National. So I had my British accent and I was with all English actors. So I had to play the mother to these actors who had London accents. So that was not a problem. The hardest part was melding English accent with Zine's natural accent, which at that time was a heavier Chinese accent.
Yeah.
I think it's better now, but melding the two was the part that was the most challenging.
It's a Rosalind Chao summer here because you also are playing Mrs. Helen Zhang, one of the main antagonist on a Netflix adaptation of the post-apocalyptic comic book Sweet Tooth. you joined the show in season 2 as a guest star, and now you are a series regular in the 3rd and final season. You're playing this power-hungry warlord who's like set out to eradicate the hybrid species of people that are sort of like the heart of the show. And I have to say,
the way you explain it, I'm gonna have to take you on every interview because that's a really good explanation.
Thank you. I want to make sure it makes sense to the listeners who aren't familiar, so that they'll like go look it up. And I feel like
I do. I love that show.
And like, one, it's such a joy to see you play like just bad. Like, that is so lovely.
No redeeming qualities.
And also, like Mrs. Zhang has a really distinct way of speaking. Like, we're talking about all your dialect work, but like she has almost what I would call is like her version of like an oil tycoon accent. Can you talk about your your vocal choices for that character and how you got that specific way that she speaks?
Okay, honestly, when I signed on for season 2, I knew there was going to be a season 3 where I would be the new baddie. So I went up to season 2 and simultaneously working on the accent for Three Body Problem on Zoom at night while filming season 2. And season 2 in the daytime, we kind of patterned her against, those shows like Dallas, those kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. So we kind of did that kind of thing. And then when we came into season 3, they cast Kelly, who really was not wild about doing the Southern accent. So whatever, once again, I'm adapting to another actor, so, but that's okay. Cause it's, everybody has their journey and we all have to work on it. It's a community when you work on things. So that was expressed to me. So we decided to at first they said, just take away Zhang's accent. And I was like, but that's weird because in season 2, I, did it was kind of a heavy accent. And so we decided to just soften it a little bit. And once again, I had a lovely dialogue coach in New Zealand who worked on that with me. But so it was very, very slight. I would just do it at the ends of certain words so that Kelly wouldn't catch me.
I loved it. I really loved seeing you in that character, getting to do like chewy scenery, like big, like villainous, it was very cool.
So much fun. I know. I love doing that. And you know what? That's not something I normally would have cast me as, but that's really tipping my hat to Carmen Cuba and the writers. Because I think she was written as like a, Texas oil baron, sort of. So yeah, I really tip my hat to them. And through them casting it this way, then, it just opened the doors for a lot more creativity, which I love.
So many of the other cast members are young actors, and you've worked with some of like the most iconic young actors. Some people did not like the term child actor, I realize. So a child star. So I feel young actor feels more forgiving, I guess. But you, of course, worked with like Dakota Fanning and I Am Sam, Gary Coleman in Different Strokes, Lindsay Lohan in Freaky Friday. Like, who has been the young actor that you've met that's really impressed you the most? Or like, who has left an impression, good or bad, I guess?
The most, but I will say, because I actually was a young actor. I was a child actor, I'll say it.
Yeah.
As well. And, I was kind of found in my parents' restaurant. They definitely put a lid on how much I was allowed to do. It just depended, as long as it didn't interfere with school or my life. But each one of them impressed me. I remember Lindsay Lohan. I'm about to work with her again on Freaky Friday too. So I definitely remember seeing her and just thinking she was so adorable, and noticing, I just told the costume department that I remember noticing her cool cords that she was wearing in Freaky Friday and thinking, I want to wear that too. She just had a sense of style. She was adorable and very sweet and fun, and I'm sure she still is. I hear she still is. So that, and of course, Christian, come on, he's just beyond his years as far as his ability, his talent. He's flexible. Like, if you play it one way, he goes with you. He's not stuck. Whereas I have noticed with some child actors, I think I was like this, that I would learn it a certain way and it would be stuck that way. I was not as fluid as Christian is. He's just, a natural. I don't think I was a natural. I don't think I really learned how to act. I'm not even sure I still know.
Please.
No, he's just wonderful. And then who else did you? Gary Coleman. Oddly enough, that was such a different. And I was a kid too, so
you had to be pretty young yourself when you were working.
Yeah,
with him.
Todd and I were the same. I think we were the same age at the time because I don't know how old he is now, but I just remember we both got our driver's license at the same time. And of course, he was driving a nice car, and I was driving, a used Camaro or something. But I still couldn't really drive in. Anyway, so we were all kind of kids at the same time. And I think, that was a different kind of acting. That was sitcom, and he had a whole family around him. So I didn't really have as much exposure to Gary as I did to Christian, definitely, because Christian, I was around a lot more. Still professional.
That's great. I feel like we've heard a lot more of that. I don't know if maybe they're tighter or more restrictive on sets these days. I don't know. But I feel like we've heard from a lot of actors saying that like the young actors are actually super professional. Maybe that's not always true, but
maybe they hire better. I wonder if people do their research now. I feel like the producers I know now, they all say that they call up past people that all actors have worked with to just check us all out. So that's what I would do if I were hiring people, because you don't want to get stuck with,
for 6 seasons,
Yeah.
So as you said, you were a child actor. Your first credit was on Here's Lucy, which is kind of insane. You've been working steadily for a number of decades, and you, of course, appeared in the final episodes of MASH as Soon Lee Klinger's eventual wife, and then you were in the spin-off after MASH. As a still very young actor, and I think you've said this publicly, that like you lied about your age to get MASH. So can you please, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it. Can you tell us the story?
I didn't understand what was happening. If you really want to know the truth, I didn't really understand. And I also couldn't understand why wouldn't they hire me if I needed, a thing to say that I graduated from high school early, 2 years early, and my parents didn't have to. Wow. I did not understand why that was such a big deal. And at the time, there was a wonderful guy at Fox, the PR guy. Just remember we called him Chuck. And he just, my age was, is like very different than... I know. I didn't know that was going to come around. But you know what? I kind of don't care, because people are surprised that I'm not like hunched over and walking like Joe Biden. I mean, I saw a thing recently on John Mulaney, when he had all the old punk rockers. They were all supposed to be the age that my internet age is. And I was like, I wonder if people are happy when I walk in.
They're like, wow. Yeah.
But also, sometimes I wonder, I haven't asked them this, but I wonder if I would have even been considered for the part in 3 Body Problem. I think the way I got it was, I think Nina Gold when I did the play in England, I played a character that aged from 30 to like around 70, something. And she's English, an English casting director. So I think that's how I ended up in there. But I also think it didn't hurt that my internet is tinkered with. Everything's tinkered with. Honestly, back then they could tinker with everything. So yes, I'm old across the board.
Honestly, that is showbiz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is showbiz.
That's the way it used to be, I guess. I didn't really understand at the time, and I just wanted to act with Alan Alda, and it was life-changing. It helped me to understand that that's really what I wanted to do for a living. Otherwise, who knows what? I might be interviewing you right now.
Okay, Rosalind, I have to tell you that I'm very excited to be chatting with you because as a tween, I was such a Trekkie. So, like, I'm very excited to be speaking to, like, the Kiko O'Brien from both the Star Trek The Next Generation and also Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And Kiko was, like, a botanist turned school teacher who you made your debut on the Star Trek The Next Generation at your wedding to O'Brien. And, like, what I love about Star Trek and what I was reminded about what I love and rewatching some episodes to prepare for this interview is that, like, it feels both very high stakes and Shakespearean, but also, like, very stupid and like an episode of Zoobilee Zoo. Like, there's these rich histories and there's all these backstories and the fan base is rabid. So there's, like, lore around you and around Kiko. If you'll indulge me, I have a few questions.
Okay, go for it.
So the story.
I love the Star Trek fans. I'm no judgment.
Okay. The story goes that you were originally sought out to play the role of Tasha Yar that eventually went to Denise Crosby, but then she left the show. Is this true?
Absolutely, and I can even give you a few more details. Please. I still remember I was in London visiting my then boyfriend, my now husband, Simon Templeman, and I had a blanket around me because it was freezing, and they called and said, they want you to come back to LA to test, because I'd already met them just before I left, to test for one of the regulars. There were, I think, 5 regulars at the time. And I said, oh my God, it's been done. I'm not doing that. And they're like, Rosalind, this is a test, a screen test. And I was like, yeah, I understand, but this is my new boyfriend. And I really want to stay here with him. And I don't want to do that. And who cares about Star Trek? So they were like, everybody, I did that with so many things that if I were to list them, you would actually have me seek help because, I've done that with a lot of things. I always choose life over work, which sometimes, looking back, some of them were not really, I could have done it better.
But it's also good that like a lot of young actors, or I should say when I was coming up and trying to be an actor, and so many people wouldn't go to their cousin's wedding because they'd be like, what if I get an audition? And I'd be like, then you miss it because you're at your cousin's wedding. You have
to live, right? And
right.
With 3 Body Problem, I gave them a hard time. They actually had to move, the last scene in 3 Body Problem, they actually had already booked that mountain for April. And I said, I can't, my daughter's graduating and I can't go. And so they moved it I flew from my daughter's graduation to that mountain. So, yeah, in life, so Star Trek, yes. Getting back to Star Trek. Yes, they were going to test me for it. Who knows? I might not have gotten it, but I definitely remember Gene Roddenberry just being very kind and complimentary. I remember that in my first meeting and in my second meeting for Keiko. I remember him just being lovely. And I still remember when I was cast as Keiko, my agent, I've had 2 agents who've passed away, but my then agent said, so in truth, they wanted somebody prettier, but they almost picked the prettier actress. And they were right. She was beautiful, but Jean really wanted you. So.
Okay. Not
maybe
helpful
it's okay
feedback.
that agent is dead. So sorry to say.
Oh! If I had a penny for every time I was told that, yeah. I think back then the looks were very, it was very different. It was not a good thing to look ethnic back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The story also goes that when Cole Meany's O'Brien moved from The Next Generation to Deep Space Nine, they offered you both series regulars, but you declined, preferring to stay recurring. What is that about?
Okay, so, and even Rick Berman called me up and like, Rosalind, are you sure? And I'm not saying this just for me, but, money. But I will tell you that, honestly, I had just given birth, I think, when I signed on, I might have still been pregnant. And, I was a latchkey kid, and I just wanted to be a mom. And I remembered how many hours were involved with The Next Generation, even as a recurring. So that was a big part of my decision. And then I still remember seeing a stroller outside of somebody's dressing room. And I remember saying, "Oh, you brought your baby to set." And that actress said, "Oh, well, it's his birthday. So I brought him to set." And I remember thinking, I don't think I want that. So that's why I didn't sign up to be a regular. It wasn't like a career move or anything. It was definitely a family move.
Yeah, and also just choosing your own life, which
Yeah.
seems important. You also seem very well adjusted, which feels like a blessing. Well, not everyone is.
But they're all out now, so now I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Woo!
So Star Trek fans can be intense. I think that like sci-fi and fantasy fans in general can be intense, which I'm sure is very nice because fans love O'Brien and Kiko. Kiko? Am I saying it right?
Keiko. I was going to correct you, but I thought, well, whatever.
Well, no, I heard you say it, and I said, is that how I said it? Say it again. Keiko. So yeah. Keiko and O'Brien, I feel like fans either love them because like their relationship and their family builds the Star Trek universe out beyond just missions. But then I think some folks resent O'Brien and Keiko because it takes the ship away from missions. What has your experience been with fans? Like, have you felt the love or what?
Well, I've definitely felt the love. There was a whole I Hate Keiko fan base, as I'm sure you're aware of. Oh, you're not aware?
I don't think I knew it was that intense. I think I knew that I felt like a lot of the language was like racist and misogynist around it, but I didn't know there was like an I hate that is intense.
And the basis of it now I understand is and to be honest, I was very late to social media and all that, so I didn't really know about it, but a lot of it is sexist and race baiting as well. And also just the fact that an Asian woman was strong. And if I'm to be totally honest, in Deep Space Nine, at times she could be a little, one-dimensional at times. But of course, I love the episodes where I haven't watched them, but the ones, they were so fun to do, the ones where she becomes evil and you're not sure who she is. I think I was practicing to be Zhang.
They also made an action figure of Keiko, which seems like the coolest thing that could possibly happen to an actor. Do you have one? And if so, where is she?
I don't have one. I've signed them for so many people, and friends of mine have them. But yeah, maybe somebody gave me one once, but here I am looking around like it. If I had one, honestly, my husband would have tossed it. I've been out of town so much, and every time I'm out of town, my husband throws things away because, I lean towards hoarding a little bit. So maybe I did have one, but I've definitely seen it. Yeah, her hand's like,
okay.
And she doesn't like me at all.
Okay, so for many of our audience members, probably they would know that you appeared, of course, in Wang Wang's 1993 film, The Joy Luck Club, based on Amy Tan's best-selling novel. You play Rose, and your mother, An Mei Shu, was played by Lisa Liu, who's also incredible. This movie is a generational classic. It's, of course, like the story of mothers and daughters, and I feel like so many people I knew from different walks of life growing up love this movie. When it came out in, I think, 1989, did you read
1993.
No, the book came out in 89, didn't it?
The book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So did you, when the book came out and it became such a hit, did you read it at the time before the movie was casting? Because I just imagine that the casting process for this film, based on a book that was already a big hit, was probably like a mob scene. Can you tell us about your relationship with the book and how the casting came? I
loved the book. When I read the book, I thought, this is the first time I feel seen, But at the time, once again, I guess I was a self-sabotager because I had done a movie called Thousand Pieces of Gold. And somebody told me they ran into Wayne and he had expressed interest in me doing Joy Luck Club. But, I really didn't. It was in one ear and out the other. And then what happened is a friend of mine who's now a director, who was an actress, had lunch with the casting director, Heidi Levitt. And Heidi asked this person who coincidentally I had done a play with, Jessie Nelson, and she asked Jessie, she said, can you recommend any Asian American actresses for Joy Luck Club? And Jessie said, well, Rosalind Chao. And she said, I know that's who Wayne wants, but I hear she's pregnant. And my friend Jessie said, she's not going to be pregnant forever. So that's how, and at the time they didn't know which one I was going to play. It was bandied around a lot and scheduling and everything. And my baby was late. And he's on time for everything now. But at the time, he was very late, 2 weeks late as they allow you to be. And so I was supposed to play a dual role, which is amazing. I was so excited about that. But once again, life, you can't prepare for what happens in life. And Rolly was struggling with the feeding, and I didn't want to give up breastfeeding. And so I asked Wayne to recast the mother, because I was supposed to play myself and my grandmother who eats opium.
Right.
Eventually played wonderfully by Vivian Wu. So I asked Wayne, and he was a little mad at me, but he forgave me. Because at the time I thought his wife could have played that part. So I thought it was an easy step in. His wife is a brilliant actress. I think she was in Eat a Bowl of Tea or Dim Sum, one of his first films.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. So life has stepped in and each time when it looked like I couldn't do something because of life, it ended up for the best, work-wise. I mean, some were crazy, but that's still fine.
So, Rosalind, you also appear as Mulan's mother in the 2020 live-action remake, which also features an all-Asian cast 27 years after the Joy Luck Club. So, despite, some, quote-unquote, progress that, the industry is making, it still feels like it's slowly catching up with, real life, as we're talking about. Can you speak to, what has been the most significant shift you felt as an Asian woman in the business? I mean, we're literally just talking about the hate club around one of the characters you played, on Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, in Star Trek, I felt more love than hate. When I did this play in New York, I definitely, the people waiting outside for me were Star Trek fans.
Oh, really? That's so
yeah.
sweet.
I mean, honestly, I don't even call them trekkies. I feel like, as you were talking about sci-fi and fantasy lovers, I call them full of love. Yes, they're passionate and they're obsessive, but they love what they love. And I have to admire that. I mean, they know every episode, they know, so I really admire that sort of passion. So yes. What was the question?
Sorry, I derailed that a little bit, but I think I was just asking a pretty big question of just what shift, if any, have you felt in the industry as it relates to women and people of color, and Asian actors specifically?
Well, it took a long time. It took 25 years before Crazy Rich Asians blew everything up. And, I mean, blossomed everything. But that being said, it has been a lot slower than I thought. And alongside that, there has been, an issue of overcorrection in some cases. That's made it harder for, I think, some of the younger actors. And I feel for them. And I'm really, I feel like a den mom to some of them as well. So I think in some ways it's harder for them, but in other ways, there are more opportunities for visibility. They don't look at you like you're, I feel like that back when I was starting, they would think my agent was crazy to recommend me for a part in, say, Fast Times at, I was in acting class with all those people in Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Valley Girl, and they were all going off to do this, filming these cool things. And, I was not asked to even audition for them, for those things. Whereas now they would have, an Asian American. And look at Maya Erskine in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, And yeah, so there are many examples of how we've really broken through. And that's thanks to a lot of the casting people who have seen, like I said, Carmen Cuba for me has been a huge champion. And I think she also cast Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And there are many other casting directors who also see Better Things was an example of where that part was written as Southern debutante, and Pamela flipped it and turned her into. I'll never forget when she offered me the part. She said, "I'm now making her a Hancock Park lipstick wearing lady," which says so much about her.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think people just didn't know back then. They had very little exposure. And now I think it is opening up, but we still have to, peel the curtain back a little bit more for Asian Americans, I think.
I also just want to shout out both of those things you mentioned, because you were Maya Erskine's mom in +1, I think. And that was so fun. You were so great together. I felt like your energies matched so beautifully.
So we are, sometimes I think we're the same person. I mean,
oh my God.
The first time I acted with her, I text my husband immediately and I said, "Oh my God, it just felt so fluid. It's like you meet the person you're going to marry."
Right.
It just felt so easy. And the director of that is Asian American. Right. There were two directors, Andrew and Jeff Chang, and they just were really fun. It was a blast. And I'm still very friendly with all of them.
I'm so glad. I would love to see you guys work together again. I think she's such a great young talent.
Me too. I would like a sequel to that, because even like the gentleman who played my husband, we all got on so well and so quickly. It was just easy. It was really.
I was so glad to see a movie like that too, because I feel like it's the kind of like mid-budget rom-com that's like very smart and clever that I want to see more of. So I feel like it's on Netflix. It's great. You should watch it.
It's so much fun. And Jack, how good is Jack too?
I was just telling Damien, I was like, I wanted to resist liking Jack Quaid, but I think he's quite good actually. He
not
seems
only
like not.
He is such a nice guy. I mean. Yeah. He was raised really well.
That's lovely.
I did with him, and he brought along sunscreen and an extra hat. I mean, he's just a good person. He's really
cute.
Yeah.
Okay, Rosalind, we're going to get you out of here quickly, but this is the part of the show we're going to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take a little bit more time if you need to, but we're going to power through everything. You kind of mentioned it, but you just finished a short run of a new play, What Became of Us, with B.D. Wong in New York City. This show was double cast with this two of you and then Tony Shalhoub and Shrey Agdashlu playing the same roles on different nights, sort of in rep. What brought you back to the New York stage, and did you and B.D. discuss the characters with Tony and Shrey, or not at all until after you finished?
We didn't discuss it at all, and still haven't, because BD and they were working on it in the months that we were doing it. I had 3 weeks to learn 88 pages. The first 9 pages are just me talking. So that was my journey. The play was such that it applies to all children of immigrants, and depending on who's doing it, it takes on a different form. I like to do theater fairly regularly. This had been 4 years since I'd done theater, and I often need it's like a reboot. It's like rebooting your phone, and I feel like rebooting my acting. It's the same skill, acting for theater and acting for TV, and I love them both equally. I'm not one of those people that just says, "Oh, I only love doing theater." I love every art form. I'm so lucky.
Okay, Rosalind, it's been officially announced that you're returning to Freaky Friday 2, reprising your role. Your character, Pei-Pei, and her mother play an integral role in the magic of the body switching in the original film. What can you tell us about Pei-Pei's return, and does she have anything to do with the switcheroo this time?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question because I just got my contract and it had a big thing about not telling anything. So the only thing I'll tell you is that the costumes are great. I just had my costume fitting, and that Pei-Pei's the godmother to Harper, Lindsay Lohan's character. So I guess that's all I can tell you. We're not guilty this time, so
Okay.
Okay.
but we're definitely a part of it.
Okay, we mentioned earlier that you appeared in an episode of Here's Lucy where you were the daughter of the legendary James Hong. 14 years later, you starred in Ginny Lim's play Paper Angels, once again opposite James Hong. Did you get a chance to discuss that episode of Here's Lucy with him all those years later?
No, I didn't even remember James Hong was in Paper Angels.
Yeah.
No. And, I was such a kid when we did Here's Lucy. I know the year that they mentioned it is like skewed because Here's Lucy, they had many Here's Lucy's.
Right.
So I don't even remember. Yeah, no, I don't think we ever discussed it, but I'm so excited for him and his resurgence and
Me too.
a legend. It's an American screen legend.
Totally.
He's so feisty.
I know, and he's getting his flowers and he's here to see it, which is really nice.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
Okay, Rosalind, you have a great bit as a sex worker in I Am Sam where you read a tabloid article to Sean Penn about a baby claiming to be Cupid because he still has his arrow. We read that Sean Penn was in your acting class back in the day. Did he coordinate this reunion on screen for you two?
No. You know who wrote it for me is Jessie Nelson, the woman who I told you had said, told Heidi Levitt that I wasn't going to be pregnant forever. Jessie, we were actors together. We did a play together at the Taper, directed by Joanna Kalidas, who ran Mabu Mines, and she didn't run it. And then ended up running the Public Theater. And Jessie and I would go on many walks and we carpooled together. And in that time, she discovered that at that time, all I wanted to play was a hooker because I was always cast as these really, and I shouldn't say hooker, sex worker. Now we say
that's
sex.
Okay. We had it originally as hooker too. And they were like, should we change it to sex worker? I feel like hooker is a classic movie trope. So it's in a safe space.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm relearning. I'm not young, so I'm relearning. Despite all the age stuff, I'm still not young. Yeah, it was. She wrote that in for me, so that was very kind of her. I could have been like, I think there was some other doctor or something, and she said, "No, I want you to be the hooker." So there you go. But I did get to sort of play. I just wanted to play that sort of role because I'd always been the sympathetic, the kind, the open, the victim. And it was so much fun. I mean, this is really a fun time. It all started with, I think Laundromat was the first turn where I played someone with an edge. And then that kind of started the whole thing. Now I'm ready to get back to something a little more similar. But even when you play those people, you still find, for Zhang, as much as I say she's evil, when you really think about it, she was just trying to save humanity.
Right.
At any expense.
Yes, I know. I mean, I personally wouldn't behave like that, but some people, their filter is not quite thick enough.
Right. Okay, you appeared as Robin Williams' reincarnated daughter in What Dreams May Come, and the two of you have this big scene on a boat. People talk about whether or not movie stars are really good number ones, aka like the number one on the call sheet. How was Robin as a number one? Was he a generous scene partner? What kind of tone did he set as the star on set?
Really, he should be under an example of how to be the best possible number one. I think an example is they would do some sort of a lottery or something where you pick a number out of a jar, and if you got that number, then you got all the money. It was a pool, a fruit pool, and he won it, and he spread the wealth. So that's kind of how he was as a person. And we got to spend a lot of time together out there in that pond because there were a lot of special effects. And, I really got a one-on-one experience with him. And if he valued nothing, it was his family. I mean, if he valued the thing he valued most, let's put it that way, was his family. He talked about his daughter and his sons. And, he was just, what a lovely human. I felt I grew so much from spending that time with him. And I still remember as they would push our boat back to the shore and everybody anxiously awaiting to see if he said something funny, then you could see him brace himself and become the Robin Williams everybody else needed. And that's an act of generosity. It wasn't like that he needed to show off or anything. It really was. I got to observe it as an act of generosity. That's how I choose to see it anyway.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Rosalind, you were Micah's mom on the L Word Generation Q. We've seen every episode for better or worse. There was a lot of scuttlebutt about how Micah, the character of Micah, was treated and how they did that character dirty. Did you know any of that coming into the show or have any sense of that from when you stepped on the set?
No, I had no idea. The main reason I wanted to do it is I have, friends who are trans and, very close in particular to one. And I know how hurtful it is when they're misgendered. And I thought that was such an important story point. And so when they asked me, I still remember my agents like, that's a yes? And I said, absolutely, because
we loved seeing you show up on it. Made us so happy.
Yeah, you graced that show with some real talent. It was really pleasing.
Sweet. But the misgendering thing is, in fact, I'm supposed to see Freddie Miares, who played Leo's boyfriend.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing him
right
around today. But yeah, he was wonderful in that as well. But yeah, I really thought the misgendering thing is something that I think a lot of people don't understand. And they don't understand how hurtful it is. And it really drives me crazy when I feel like crying when I think about it, when people make fun of it, because it's not something to be made fun of. It's, it's
we appreciate
really
your allyship for sure. I mean, it does. It's true. It's people get nervous. They don't know how they mess stuff up, and then they think it's like funny or flippant. They're flippant about it.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable, and it's just about educating. And so that's why I wanted to do it, because that character, she was a ball of miseducation.
Right.
And it often is the parents, because you've seen them as little kids, I mean, I empathize with that. I can understand, but still we need to educate everybody.
Yes. Okay, Rosalind, you played Dr. Kim, the dean of the high school on the Fox. I'm calling it a classic, the OC. Am I crazy, or did you and Benjamin McKenzie have very good chemistry? What was happening there?
We have very good chemistry. I love those kids. In fact, I think, oh God, I just had a brain fart.
Adam Brody.
Who else? Adam, and then who was the girl?
Misha Barton.
Rachel Bilson.
Rachel Bilson.
Rachel.
Yeah.
So she was a recurring at the time that we filmed the first season. I remember thinking in the van as we were going in the van to work, because you go from the makeup trailer in a van. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking that she and Adam had chemistry. And then once when we were backstage, waiting to go on, we started talking, and I told her how I think my daughter was sick at the time. And I was like, I hope we're done in time. And she offered, I should have saved the little script page. She gave me her phone number and offered to babysit when she said, I'm just recurring. So she said, either me or my roommate, who's also a teacher, can babysit for you, and gave me your number.
Oh, I love that.
She was very sweet. They were so cute together. I know they're not together now, but they were very cute together.
I'm a forever fan of her now based on that. Thank you
same.
for that tidbit. Yeah.
He was so sweet too.
Last question, Anne, take it.
Okay. All right, Rosalind, last question. You play Reese Witherspoon's mentor in Just Like Heaven. Did you know that someone online made a super cut of just your scenes on TikTok that has like every single time your character puts your hair behind your ear? It's just a lot of really cute shots of you from the film. And it's all Rosalind Chao.
You have to send that to me. That's hilarious. And you know why? I'll give you the background to why I was doing that. Because they recut my hair. I came in to shoot, and then my hair had grown so much, they recut it. It was a bad haircut. And they did it very quickly. So I was trying to make it so it wouldn't show. I cannot believe this. Oh my gosh, you have to send it to me. That's hilarious.
Someone's a super fan of that, maybe of the haircut or the gesture. I think they thought it was very coy and flirtatious.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, it was bad haircut hiding. I still remember, like, if you see the haircut, you'll know. I mean,
okay.
What was it? It was like a bouffant thing happening.
You kind of had it like it flipped out a little bit too at the bottom. Yeah.
Well, I guess I have that.
It was cute.
Same director as Freaky Friday, by the way.
Mark Waters, we love him.
Don't you love him? I know. This one has Freaky Friday 2 has a lovely director. I just spoke to her on the phone. She sounds amazing, Nisha. So I think it'll be good. The script's really good. I can tell you this: the script's very funny, and I laughed and I cried.
Okay.
In the Freaky Friday 2 script. So there you have it.
All right. Rosalind Chao, this has been a total pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on this show and chatting with us.
Thank you so much. Now remember, Star Trek people are not trekkies. They're sci-fi fantasy lovers.
You're educating me. Thank you.
Okay.
Hearing Rosalind Chao talk about her dialect work, I feel like she is a fine technician. Do you know what I mean? I feel like she is an actor's actor, and I love the idea that she's like, you know what? I have to just do the theater every couple of years to reset, which I love, and I'm so grateful, and I hope that she's coming back to New York to do another show soon because she is so smart, so sharp, and I feel like just like a gift to the New York stage. So I hope that we get to see her back here soon. She was a delight.
Me too. So cool. Also so cool that she was sort of, as you said, sort of like in rep doing the same show as former guest of this show, Sheree Agdashlu. But I have to say there are, I think, two of my favorite parts of the interview were, one, when you laughed and told her you were glad that her one agent was dead. The one that told her that they were going to get someone prettier for Star Trek.
And she was like, somebody else told. I've heard that before. You never know if that's going to go over well with someone or if it's going to end the interview. You know what I mean? I felt like we had a good rapport with Rosalind, so I felt a little confident because I was like, what a dick. Also, if you're an agent and that is what was told to you, I guess you should be upfront with your actor, but also maybe there's a better way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like real. I know that sometimes with auditions, actors will say was there feedback? You know,
right?
So if the feedback is they just went with a different type, okay, but I'm not sure that being they wanted someone who was prettier. And I know that agent was a man, of course. You know,
of course, no question.
My other favorite part of the interview was when she was talking about her dialect work on Sweet Tooth and talked about Kelly Marie Tran not wanting to do the Southern accent, and we just laughed and
because how difficult and how hard you've crafted this whole thing, and they're like, oh, Kelly doesn't want to do it, and you're like, okay.
We just laughed because she was so diplomatic about it, and I'm not. It's not shade at Kelly Marie Tran. Maybe one day we'll get to discuss it with her. It was just so funny because, yes, to your point, she was recurring on season 2, developed a whole character, and I was that was the thing that took me away when I watched it, and I was like, oh, she's sort of doing her take on an oil tycoon in a post-apocalyptic world who's a woman, who's an Asian woman. How cool! And then to get into season 3 and be like, your role is being expanded. You now have a family. Oh, but one of the actors doesn't want to do a Southern accent. And you're like, okay.
It's like very much the Ryan Murphy universe where it's like, okay, you're a cop who's also a librarian in season 2, but in season 5, you find out that you've been a witch the entire time.
Oh, right. We talked about that with Edina Porter, right? Where Edina Porter like found out she was a witch at like the end of the series. And then also Angelica Ross was like, we were like, remember you found out your dad was a serial killer? And I was like, did you know that? Like, because sometimes you would think like the actor, even if it's just like the actor who has the reveal knows, right? Because it's like their actor's secret. And I feel like that's sometimes part of, you know, I'm not an actor. You are a trained actor, even though you're not in practice anymore, Anne.
I'm not in practice. My license expired.
But, you know, like having a actor's secret that you get to keep and that you're like, it like helps that like then the secret is informing maybe deceit or you being devious because you have this secret. Anyway, right. I also think that sometimes people don't trust that actors are good enough to do that, but like give them a chance, you know? So totally. It's just fun. It was so funny to me, and I just loved listening to us laugh.
That's what we do best. Folks, if you like what you're hearing here on You Might Know Her From, as Damien said, the best thing you can do is support us on Patreon. You can go over to patreon.com/You Might Know Her From, and you can follow us on social media. We are on all mediums at Damien Bellino and at Rodeman. That's RODEMANNE.
You can also follow You Might Know Her From on Instagram and TikTok at You Might Know Her From. There we are doing our best to share tidbits from the show and also just more intel and behind the scenes juice about actors of the female persuasion, our favorite kind. You Might Know Her From is produced by us, Damien Bellino and Anne Rodeman, and we want to thank our special consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. As always, that's Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears, and every piece of editing that you hear, every pickup, every beautiful transition, that's courtesy of the lovely, the bright, the beautiful Daniel Sears. Also, thank you to Gang. All of that music you hear underscoring each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is by Gang. Gang is 3/4 women. Gang is from Philadelphia. We love Gang. You can listen and download and stream Gang wherever you listen to your music. And if you need to see that clip of Faye Dunaway peeling an egg, or Della Reese walking into plate glass, or rather talking about having walked into plate glass, you know where to find it. I put everything that we talk about in this show in the show notes so that we can easily catalog it. It's like we're archivists here. We're archivists. It's what we do. We got to keep track of the goods. Find us at the bottom of the episode description. I have a question for you, Damien. If you were able to get a free ticket, general admission for Coachella, would you go? Does it include like getting there and staying there? Yeah. Just like no, just a ticket to the festival for the weekend. But it's not VIP. It's just you're in the masses. Like, would you do it? Would you make it happen? Are you coming? I'm not coming. I was thinking about it because I was talking about going out to California with some friends during the window of time that I didn't even understand was Coachella. And they're like, let's go to Coachella. I was like, I can't go to Coachella. And I don't think that I'm prissy. I just think I may have passed the window for like a music festival. I'm not sure that like music festivals were ever my thing. I like a concert. I don't like being with like a sea of people where I don't know where my next bathroom break is coming from. If I had a penis, maybe it would be simpler because I could be like, I could just pee wherever I needed to, whenever I needed to. But the idea of being trapped at a music festival, like where every drink is $15 plus, and I'm surrounded by sweaty bodies, and I don't know where my next meal or my next piss is coming, like that is anxiety provoking to me. And I guess maybe that's just like old age, but I was like, I like other things that involve music and dancing, just not a music festival. But I didn't understand, like, are you like, if I got VIP tickets to Coachella, I would go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not my scene. I don't think it's like something I would like absolutely love. But if I got nice seats, I'd do it. I think that there's a part of me that like would want to say yes and to the situation because it's like, totally. This is an experience. Like, I'm doing this for the experience that I didn't do. And I do believe that we as queer people, like, got a late start. You know, like, we didn't, like, for me, you know, it's like, even if we got to do some of these things, which I never have gone to, like, a real music festival, and I'm not sure that it ever really was or has been my scene, but I never have. But I certainly haven't done it as, like, a queer person or with queer people. So, like, if me and you were to go and it was, like, you know, we loved the artists, like, and we got a free ride, sure. But if I'm just, like, being plopped in there and it's, like, me, no. Right. And I feel like it would depend on who I was with. Like, I would want to feel like I was there with you and not with people where I'm, like, doing imposter syndrome and having to, like, pretend like I like it, or being like, you know, or I'd just be on a lot of drugs, I guess, which also could be fun and a different thing. I do, though, agree that I feel like I'm a little old to just sort of, like, be there, you know, like, with my shirt off on drugs, like, wearing weird looks and taking photos like that. None of that sounds appealing to me, you know? None of it sounds fun. Like, I love to dance and I love to partake and I love music, but I don't think any of those things sound fun or appealing to me.
Yeah, I think the crew, I can't imagine a scenario where, like, I would enjoy being around those people for some reason. I guess that's judgment that I'm casting.
But if we were there and we were, like, seeing Chappell Roan, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and, like, Shaka Khan, I mean, we would have a blast.
Yes, I think it's just like there's so many other people that are going to be there that I literally don't care about and or know about. And I'm like, it's not worth it for me to be in this crowd to listen to this. I don't like music and pop music or whatever other, like, whatever the fuck kind of festival it was. That being said, I was very into, I wanted to go to Lollapalooza really bad when I was like 12.
Yeah, same, because there was that, why did we care about it? Was it like in a doc?
It was like,
or was it
Lollapalooza? Wasn't that Perry Farrell's, it was like his from Jane's Addiction. It was like his
whole was a Lollapalooza.
Yeah. And then also, like, they had
Lilith Fair. I think I would still like to go to Lilith Fair.
Oh, Lilith Fair, hands down. But, like, that is a different group of people that attend Lilith Fair. Do you know what I mean? And it's also not, like, raving or, like, sweaty bodies, like, jammed up against each other. It's, like, people with picnic blankets and, like, a bottle of Merlot.
Yeah, sure, I guess. But, like, you know, I feel like I could still, like, take a Molly and be like, ooh, Indigo Girls, like, I'm crying.
I do see that for you. I do see that for you.